Yo, what's going on, man? Welcome to Coast Connection. Embrace the power production with me, my man Mike G down here in Tampa, Florida. What's up? And we got Jill Brown, Miss Fitness herself, on today. And we just want to say, hey, girl, what's going on and where are you at right now?
I am in Los Angeles right now, and we're doing this today because I'm leaving for Costa Rica tomorrow.
That's what I'm talking about. Hey. So, we were talking earlier just about fitness and how it's evolved. So, Jill, when did your fitness journey start before we get into like some tough questions about fitness? So, what made you transition into fitness and make that a lifestyle? And then we'll get into all the other great things you've been doing.
It's such a great topic to ask me about that because a lot of people look at me and think, oh, you've always been fit. You've always been a fitness person. And that's actually not true. I loved movement and activity as a kid because I had a lot of anxiety and depression as a kid. And I just knew intrinsically that moving my body just made depression and anxiety go away. So I didn't really know anything about it. Just that. And then I was also brought up by a mom who had some addiction problems and she ate a lot of sugar. We have diabetes in the family and heart disease in the family. And I was born literally a sugar addict because she was becoming diabetic and feeding me nothing but sugar even after I came out of the womb. So when I hit my, I would say late teens or mid to late teens, I started gaining weight really rapidly because I had such a bad diet and I ate really poorly. And my grandmother, kind of old school mindset, she was really into like whatever she could learn about nutrition. So when I stayed with my grandparents after my father left when I was young, she just got me super interested in nutrition. So I do fitness and nutrition coaching. But back to the question about fitness is I had gained a lot of weight. I was getting really unhealthy as a teenager. And even though I loved movement, I just didn't have time. Little side story about me is when I was in high school and college, I was playing in punk rock bands.
What instrument did you play or did you sing?
I'm not a singer. I played bass. I was not great, but I know the notes and I can play. So, so I could do it, but it's a very unhealthy lifestyle back then. And I grew up in New York and, lots of pizza and junk food. So I ate really bad. And so just to say that I was fit my whole life is not true. I gained a lot of weight very quickly. And then when I was in college, I was like, something's got to change. I went to college in Boston, and you guys know, being the athletes that you are, that there's a lot of teams, there's a lot of people working out in Boston because of all the colleges.
Right. What college did you go to in Boston?
I went to Emerson. I went to film school, and I started my education in fitness right after I graduated, 25 pounds heavier. And that's when I started doing fitness, the short answer. But I was watching all these people, like, I lived on the Charles River. I'd walk out, I'd come home from a party or from, my band playing at night. And I'd be coming home at like 5 a.m, not joking. And these guys were getting out on the water and getting on their crew boats.
That's
and
right.
People running along the Esplanade at like 5, 6 in the morning. And I'm like, I'm such a loser. I'm coming home. I'm going to sleep till 1. Then I'm probably going to eat some chili mac and French fries. So that was my life. And I always thought of these people. And as I started embarking on fitness, because I did have a dance background, which I will admit to, so choreography and moving my body felt great, and I knew this from early on. But right after college, I started working out, and I was like, oh my God, this is life changing. I started going to a gym after work. So I had a day job in Manhattan. I grew up in New York. Had a day job in Manhattan, and then I would get on the train, take it to my car, get in my car, drive another 15 miles out to Long Island to go to the gym. And they just noticed that I was catching on really fast and my body was changing quickly because I was in my 20s. And they asked me if I wanted to teach classes there. And I'm like, what?
Oh, was that back in the Jane Fonda aerobics era?
Yes.
I did a lot of stuff aerobics in the 80s in college. I know.
Yeah. See, I know we're like the same, we're a similar age. So they asked me if I wanted to teach classes, and I'm like, what? And they got me certified, and I started teaching, and I was like, oh my God, I love this. Moved to LA the following year because that was my plan, to move to LA to work in production. Started gaining weight, getting heavy again, from the lifestyle of working in production. And so I started teaching fitness part-time. And then I was like, people were asking me to train them. People, gyms were asking me to work there. And so gradually, after moving out to LA and working in production for about 5 years, I started to gradually do fitness full time. And then we all learned that you can't out train a bad diet. So about 15 years
True.
ago, I started studying nutrition and then added nutrition coaching to my offerings. And
Oh,
that's how it happened. I was like not the in shape person. I just knew how exercise made me felt mentally.
oh, but I'm a 3 a.m., 3:30 a.m. guy. Been doing it for years and been grinding out. Me and Mike laugh about this all the time. And I get up in the morning and I start doing those little video clips from the gym, and it caught on, and people started watching and telling me, "Hey, I appreciate the motivation." But I went through the same journey, kind of what you went through in the challenges. But what I like about what you're saying is that you're on the East Coast, and it's funny. It's the pocket where you live. So like I lived out in Irvine, and my family lives. My mom's side of the family is Altadena, Pasadena. So everybody runs around the US the USC Rose Bowl, whatever it is down there.
Right, right.
But it's funny is that it's where you come out of, because you're talking about traveling, making that commute, and then getting your workout in, and then being around people. And I learned very quickly, and that's really important. And it's to anybody out there, it's really the circle you run around that really makes a difference in your life. And then somebody took a chance on you and said, hey, you ought to do this. So, what did you do while you were out in California when you got there and you were in production? What was the trigger thing that made you say, you know what, I really, really need to make this a lifestyle? Because inflammation, and you get the key thing, nutrition, right? Inflammation is always triggered by what we process inside our bodies, what we eat. So what made you make that transition? And did you go back to school and get a nutrition degree? Or, what did you do?
Well, inflammation wasn't the only thing that I was thinking of, because once you're overweight, if you're overweight, you have some inflammation, right? Like it's going to happen. No matter how much you work out, there's going to be something inflammatory, especially if you're gaining weight around the midsection. So what made me change is, so I'm working in production and I'm trying to get to the gym as often as I could, and just to try to keep my weight under control. And but it was really at the age of 40 that I started to realize the truth that you can't out train a bad diet. So I started studying nutrition at 40. I'm 55 now. So for 15 years, when I say studying it, I mean taking certification courses. So the first one I did was called Nutrition for Professionals. Then I did a few years later the health coaching program from American Council on Exercise, which is a combination of nutrition and exercise. But I have like 15 certifications in different areas of fitness.
Wow.
Including functional strength coaching, personal training. I was a master trainer for spinning. That's my spinning bike back there.
I see that. Which bike do you have?
That's the nature. No, wait, I'm sorry. I have the free motion.
All right, because I like there was the Armstrong bike. There was there's a ton of them out there. The Pro Form.
I worked on the original spinning bike. So I literally worked for the guy that invented spinning, and I traveled all over the world as a master trainer in the 90s.
Wow.
Teaching spinning. So I was one of the first spinning instructors in the world. And so that goes way back. But I knew, reading the textbooks, that you can't out train a bad diet. So even with all those fitness certifications, I knew I was going to have to pay the piper. And you asked about inflammation. Well, the killer in my family, fortunately, it's not cancer. The big killer in my family is diabetes and heart disease. And those are from inflammation. So I started studying nutrition, like I said, at 40, started coaching people a few years later. And I've been doing that for 15 years. And with inflammation, it's just important. You'll know if you have it. Obviously, if you're gaining a lot of weight around your belly, that's one marker. And then when you're going to get your blood test, I hope everybody is watching this every year, once or twice a year, goes and get a blood test, and you get your HS-CRP tested, your homocysteine tested, and your A1C tested on the regs. And then, if those markers are gradually going up, you're heading towards some kind of inflammatory problem and then metabolic syndrome. So you'll be looking at your LDLs, and you'll be looking at, hopefully, by the way, just a little quick tip, for anyone else who deals with heart disease, I'm obsessed with a couple of things, like, managing blood sugar because of the diabetes that runs in my family.
Right.
The heart disease. So the markers that I look at a lot is I'm always watching my A1C, which is the average blood sugar over the course of 3 months. You can see, you steadily going up. By the time, just two quick little tidbits talking about inflammation and biomarkers is, if you're watching your A1C gradually going up, that's not happening overnight. That's happening over years.
Wow.
So if you're seeing that number, you're starting at, let's say, what I always tell people to do is call up your doctor, all the doctors you've had blood tests with, and they will just send you a PDF file. It takes them 2 seconds. They'll attach your file to your email, and then you can keep a record of it, put it in a folder, or mine's in a binder, and just look through the years. Say, oh, I want to see how my LDL is doing over the years. 2017, 18, 19, 20, and watch whatever marker is the biggest issue in your family. So for me, I check my LDL, but now, just so you know, APOB is really the best marker to test. So ask your doctor. It costs just a few extra dollars to ask them to test your APOB, because those are the marker. That's the marker of your LDL cholesterol that is the most responsible for atherosclerosis. So just something really good to check. I'm a big believer in intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting helps reduce all of these markers. It also helps with inflammation control. So that's why you'll always be talking about
when
that.
is the best time to do that? And I mean to cut you off, but when is the best time to do intermittent fasting? Because we had Dr. Lori Shemick on here, and she said the same thing about intermittent fasting. And she talked about the conflict that everybody has with it. Is it better in the morning? Is it better in the afternoon? Is it better in the evening? So how do you kind of balance? When do you think is kind of like an ultimate time to fast?
Oh, that's a great question. So first of all, intermittent fasting can be anything up to fasting for 3 full days, right? So the different types of intermittent fasting are time restricted feeding, which is based on a circadian rhythm clock. So just within 24 hours, you do 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours of eating window. That's the most common. And it's a funny story, but it was a random number, and it just happened to work out pretty well. So that's why that just caught on. But it was just a random, it was just the guy who worked in the lab with the rats was just like, I have 8 hours. So I'm just going to see what happens within 8 hours.
I'm just going to go with it.
That was his work hours. That was the guy's work hours. So just a funny story. But anyway, so 16-8 seems to work for a lot of people. And it also depends, is your goal reducing inflammation? In which case you might want to do some more extended fasts, like one that I recommend for my clients who want to lose weight and reduce inflammation, help LDL, cholesterol, help with blood sugar control, and help with blood pressure, is that Prolon fast. It's a lot of doctors recommend it. It's a 5-day fasting mimicking diet. It's on my website. It's on all my links because I'm a big advocate of their research. And it was originally created for longevity. So that is a 5-day low calorie fasting mimicking diet, meaning the foods don't trigger any nutrient sensing pathways. So you're having these foods, they're like soups and nut bars, and your body has no idea that it's consuming food. It's sneaking under the radar. So no nutrient sensing pathway.
So for like 5 days.
Yeah, that's 5 days, but there's food. Or you can do like a 3-day water fast. Check with your doctor first, of course. And if you're taking medications, it might not be the way for you to go. So if you're taking medications that you have to take with food, time restricted eating during the course of a day might be the best way. So again, intermittent fasting is anything from time restricted eating during the day all the way up to 3 days of water only, or water, black coffee and black tea. So time restricted eating, the latest research, so today, that we're talking about this right now, the latest research that came out of 2 studies is that if you're trying to lose weight, the earlier part of the day is the best. So if you can eat from 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. to 3 or 4 p.m., the people that were researched in that study came out losing a little more weight than people eating, for example, 12 to 8, which is the most common. But lifestyle-wise, in this country, it's easier to skip breakfast because, you're on the go. You go to the gym maybe in the morning, or you got to walk your dog, take your kids to school, go to work. It's easy to skip breakfast and start eating at noon. But if you're able to, you'll see, probably not for everyone, but you'll probably see more results if you start at 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. and eat till 3 or 4 p.m. And so that's been studied a few times out of Sachin Panda's lab in San Diego.
All right. So then what you're saying is eat in the morning, and then like mid-afternoon, about 3, you stop eating.
Yeah, 3 or 4 p.m. If you stop eating around 3 or 4 p.m., people seem to lose more weight than doing the 12 to 8.
So let me ask you, what is your biggest struggle with our society? Because I mean, we talk about, and there's mixed messaging. Let's just be clear. So over the last 5 years, we've came politically correct, and no knock on it. It is what it is. And so we say that we need to be healthy, and we realize that during COVID, which I can tell anyway, if you really want to lose weight, you go get deployed on a dry country for a long period of time, you're going to drop weight. I've done it a couple times, but I'm just joking. But during COVID and prior to it, the marketing in our society has been detrimental to the youth in our society recently over the last couple of years. And people say, well, you guys ate Twinkies and y'all ate ding dongs and you guys ate all this junk food back in the 80s. I said, but guys, you got to remember, we were moving, we were running, we were playing 3 sports. We never sat still. Our parents were like, get outside, go. I said, you guys are sedentary. And you're looking at the rise of diabetes for the youth in our country right now. And a lot of it has to do with that. We don't really project that we need to be working out. So I know some challenges that you're probably dealing with now as you work with adults, but I'm sure you're starting to see some things with teenagers having to deal with weight issues. So what's your take on, just in general, how we've promoted saying that you can't tell someone they're overweight because you may hurt their feelings. So we're at the point now where you really we were cautious on how we say things, but yet we realize we have medical issues, and COVID really exposed the issues in America with being overweight. And we lost a lot of good people, not because they were anything, but the being overweight really caused the respiratory system and the pressure on their hearts and all that. So what's your take on the fact that we should do better at trying to promote health in the country, or that you've worked with some people and you kind of see the variance that we need to do a little bit better with the youth in America when it comes to their health? And I'll pause there.
Okay. Well, the biggest issue that I was just listening to a podcast where it was scientists interviewing other scientists, researchers interviewing researchers. And one of the doctors who is the biggest researcher on fatty liver disease and on insulin resistance, he's saying, well, actually, there's 2 different doctors, 2 different podcasts I was listening to. And the one who researches insulin resistance has found that today, 50% of people are insulin resistant. Now, insulin resistance leads to prediabetes, which leads to diabetes. And,
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And he said the majority of young people are also insulin resistant. The problem is, remember I was saying check your HbA1c or your A1C?
Right.
Building up for years, this insulin resistance, by the time you're actually diagnosed with prediabetes, when your A1C starts to hit 6.0. So you want it to be as close to 5.0 as possible. So in that zone of heading up to 6.0, you're becoming pre-diabetic. And as you know, once you're insulin resistant, you start putting on a lot of weight because your cells aren't taking insulin into your muscles. So he found that all of these kids in their 20s were already insulin resistant. This is a guy that studies insulin resistance.
Wow.
What did they have in common? These were the kids that didn't work out. These were the kids who did not exercise. They were not on a team. They were not exercising. And half of them are already insulin resistant at their teenage years.
Yeah,
so
that's
really scary.
Wow, but we have such we're gaming, cell phones. There's so many distractions that that we have in our society, that's keeping people from really wanting to project themselves. So so what's your average age of who do you work with as clients right now? Do you work from home? Do you work at Gold's Gym? Do you work at LA Fitness, or do you work, at Biley's? Oh, that's old school. That's going way back.
Oh, so you're
So,
all right. I teach, so I primarily work with people that are 40, 50, 60, 70, and they're over 40, mostly because I've been there. I'm 55. I got into the best shape of my life at 40, and then I did it again at 50. In my
Awesome.
40s, I did it by changing my workouts. In my 50s, I did it by changing my nutrition. Because what we did in our 20s and 30s, you will eventually find sometime after 35, if not by sometime after 40, you'll realize that whatever you were doing in your 20s and 30s stops working at a certain age, men and women. So I specialize in people that are over 40 because I've just been around for so long, going through so many certifications, taking so many courses. I study, I stay on the top of my game research-wise daily. And every day, going to the PhDs that I follow in the areas of my interest. On Twitter, I'm reading their papers. I get science journals sent to me every day on my email. So
You're just a nerd, what you're telling me.
I'm a total nerd, and I come from a family of doctors.
I was just messing with
I
you.
will tell you, the only reason why I didn't become a doctor was my trigonometry scores. That's when I had to go talk to literally, I was flunking out of trigonometry, and I had to have a little talk to my guidance counselor in high school. And I'm like, I'm not going to get into medical school. What am I going to do? Like, everyone in my family's a doctor. I'm like, I'm not going to get in. So that's how I changed. I'm like, well, I know I want to live in LA. So
that's right, because I don't do public math, and I don't do math. And that's why I got 2 master's degrees in political science and history, because I don't have time to mess with math. Hey,
well,
Mike,
math was okay. I love science. And that's why I nerd out on science. So I started teaching at, like, there's a luxury gym out here called Sports Club LA that got bought out by Equinox. So I teach.
Oh, that's big. They're buying everything out here. Is it Equinox or EOS now or something, man?
No, EOS is different, but Equinox is, Equinox Fitness. They're from New York originally. So I knew of them. And then they started buying up a lot of properties in LA. And so they became like the biggest luxury chain here. So I teach classes in Beverly Hills at Equinox. I teach online every day, Monday through Friday, except next week when I'll be on vacation. And I have a video library online on my website. If you go to my schedule.
Hey, pull it up, Mike. Pull up our website.
Yeah, you go to jillbrownfitness.com. or the link in my bio on any social media, you'll see my class schedule. So if you go to schedule right there where you are, yep. So just click and then scroll down from schedule. You just click on that link and that'll take you to my classes that you can sign up for online. So right there where it says videos, you won't be able to access them because you don't have an account yet. But I have about 400 workouts in there. And you have to, it's behind a paywall. But I have about 400 workouts in there. And you can buy workouts of anywhere from $6 or $7 to $11 or get a full subscription. And the reason why I say that I specialize in people over 40 is because the workout program that I designed has just the right amount of HIIT workouts. We really need some HIIT workouts. It does help reduce inflammation because you're getting a combination of cardio and strength training.
Right.
And I have some classes that are just like sets and reps and circuits. And then I have classes that are just like individual body parts for people who like to do like the type of split type workout. So I have an arm workout, a butt workout, an ab workout, and a stretch class and a deep core class. So I have all different kinds, but these are really ones that I call my workouts high intensity, low impact. So, and high intensity is that they're really going to maximize your results, but very minimal jumping up and down, very safe on the joints. If you didn't notice this about me when you read my background and my bio, I was born with 2 big problems. One, I had a predisposition to spine disease. So I have degenerative disc disease, which
is it the lower back or is it your lower back?
My whole spine. Whoa. Yeah, but I can still work out. I can still do 100 burpees if you ask me to. It's all in the form and just staying fit and really having a strong core and strong glutes and strong hips. And so I was born with a predisposition for that, and it manifested quite young. I had my first of 2 spine surgeries in my 30s in my neck, and now I have it in my lower back, and I'm trying not to have surgery on the low back. So core training and not too much impact is really important if you're trying to preserve your discs, because the discs are the shock absorbers between your vertebrae. So you really want to try, to minimize impact on that as you get older. Everyone gets some spine degeneration by the time they're in their 50s or 60s.
I concur.
Yes. And you don't even know, like, you're not always symptomatic. right? You might just, let's say you go in, you pop in because your hip hurts, and they do an MRI of your hip or an X-ray of your hip. They'll see that you already have some stenosis or some wearing away of your discs. They'll just notice that in your X-rays anyway. So everyone starts to get it. So I'm really big on just core training and cross training to make sure you don't do too much of one thing, preserving the discs, and then also having enough intensity in your workout so that you're actually keeping your metabolism up, which slows down as we age. So
Yes.
that's why I say that my workouts really help people over 40. They want to prevent injury. Maybe they already have an injury that they've dealt with, and then they want to make sure that they don't exacerbate it or make it worse. But other than that, I still have people in their 30s that work out with me in their 20s. At Equinox, every day I have kids half my age trying to keep up with me.
Yeah, you'd be burning them out. Yeah, I know.
And I did teach at Gold's Gym for 17 years. So if anyone's
that's back in the day. That's the original.
That's the OG. So anyone who's watching this from Gold's, hey, I miss you.
Hey, Mike, you got anything before we roll up out of here, man?
Yeah, I don't know. She's informed me a lot. I mean, I just reached 45, and I notice I'm gaining weight, and I don't even eat bad. I don't eat McDonald's or nothing like that. It's just a mystery.
Well, it's not a mystery, Mike. It's not a mystery. If you're an athlete and you become used to eating a certain amount of calories a day, as we get older, our calorie need starts to drop. We start to lose a little bit of muscle mass. Our metabolism slows down a little bit. And as we get older, and when we lose some muscle mass, and our metabolism slows down, we need less calories. So it is a really good idea. What I would recommend to anyone who hasn't checked their basal metabolic rate, there's a few different calculators, and there's a few different calculations. There's the Mifflin St. George, the Harris Benedict, but I would go onto a couple of websites, see what they think your basal metabolic rate is. It's not going to be based on your muscle mass. So if you're a very muscular person like you guys are, I would then go to a DEXA scan. So that's the best thing that a layperson can do. They're about 50 or 60 bucks. Ask them if they have the body composition software, because they're usually used for just bone density. Women and men who have osteoporosis, they have to get a DEXA scan every few years. So, but they do body composition too. So find one. In California, we have a company called Body Spec, very inexpensive, 50, 60 bucks. And it will tell you how much muscle you have in your right arm, your left arm, your abdomen, your legs, each leg, how much lean body mass and how much body fat you have in each part of your body, including subcutaneous fat, the inflammatory fat in the one that surrounds your organs. That's called visceral fat. That's the fat that when you're gaining weight around here, now you're at risk for you're a higher risk for heart disease.
Oh, yes.
The fat around the belly leaches cytokines into your bloodstream, increases those markers I was talking about, like CRP and homocysteine. So now your inflammatory markers are going to go up. That's why I say people with a lot of belly fat are probably going to have higher levels of inflammatory markers. So check those, or just get this DEXA scan and start working down your visceral body fat. Mine's extremely low as a woman who's in menopausal years at 55. Because of my diet and my exercise, I have almost none. So,
but you're getting after it. And before we get out of here, what advice would you give to anyone out there when they watch this podcast? If you had to leave your imprints in the sand from now hear me out, Jill, from your failures from your successes, from your setbacks, when you put that all together, what is the kind of advice that you would give somebody? Because, people struggle with weight on a regular basis, and depression and anxiety and all these factors. And then sometimes just getting out and working out could possibly be the difference in their life. And I'll pause.
Yeah, that's what I learned very young. I just happened to find out that I didn't know what depression was. I didn't know what anxiety was. I was a kid. But when I did any kind of exercise, whether I was picking up some dumbbells, for my 14th birthday, somebody gave me a gift certificate to the sporting goods store. I came home with a pair of 10-pound dumbbells. That was my gift to myself. And I just noticed, like, whatever crap I was feeling in my head, not knowing what it was, and my emotions, I felt better picking up those weights. When I swam at my grandparents' house, I told you I lived with my grandparents for a long time. After my parents got divorced when I was young, I would just be swimming and I would just get into this, now we know that it's called flow state or the zone. All my anxiety and depression went away. So if you're dealing with that, finding some kind of movement, whether it's walking, whether it's getting out in nature and hiking, whether it's swimming or just picking up some weights, it's really going to help. But what I do have to say motivationally, for people who are frustrated with feeling like they're not getting anywhere, you have to look at how far you've come, and not how far you have left to go. Because if your goal is to lose 100 pounds and you've only lost 35, you have to celebrate the win of losing 35 and not just think about the 65 that you still have yet to go. And so one of the things that I do with my private clients that I coach online for nutrition or my VIP program, first thing we do is we start off with, give me your wins. We have to celebrate the little victories. Oh, I only ate one piece of chocolate. Normally I would have eaten 5. Oh, I only ate one cookie. I would have eaten the entire bag. So you have to give yourself credit for just little things like that. Oh, I lost 1 pound, even though my goal was to lose 2.5, whatever it was. You have to celebrate the little victories. And, sometimes it's keeping a gratitude journal, but I really just say, celebrate the wins first. Before you start thinking about how much farther you have to go, think about all of the distance you've come this far. And every week or every day, celebrate any little win, because that's what's going to keep your mind in the right place. Because when you fall off, when you slide off, the reason why you slide off is because you think, oh my God, I have so far to go and I just ate bad today. Why not eat bad tomorrow too? And then the next day and the next day. And that's because you haven't taken a moment to think about all the progress you've made. And when you slide off for a day or 2 or a week because you went on vacation, that's nothing. That's 1 or 2 weeks. And you've been working on this for 3 or 4 months or 6 months or a year. So don't throw it all away and celebrate the little wins.
Awesome. Right. We give that up. Hey, so why the hell is it so hard to get rid of the last 10 to 5 pounds? Why?
I'll tell you. You want to know why?
That's why I asked. Why?
That's exactly what Mike said is like, oh, I'm not losing any weight. I'm not losing any weight. Every time you lose, it depends on your size, like that you're literally how tall you are and how big you are, your frame. But about every 10 to 25 pounds that you lose, your metabolism slows down. So you require less calories. So people need to have a game plan. What I tell people all the time, I do a TikTok live 3 times a week. And I do lives and I do, Q&As and AMAs. And one thing that I always tell people is, all right, you're on a great plan. You're doing your intermittent fasting. You're doing a 16-8 or an 18-6, what have you. Or, you're doing calorie counting. Great. You're on MyFitnessPal. You're just making sure of your calories, every day or every couple of days. And you need to have your game plan for when you hit that plateau. So what is it? All right, I know that I'm going to hit a plateau. Everybody does. The human body was designed to fast, by the way. That's why we have fat cells, but it was designed to adapt to its environment. If you're a strength athlete, like you guys work out, you guys lift weights, your body adapts to that strength. You're lifting 20-pound dumbbells. Now they're easy. You got to lift 25-pound dumbbells. Well, the same thing happens with your nutrition. You're like, oh, I've been eating 17, 18, 1900 calories a day. Now your body adapts to that. And you've lost your weight and now you have to adjust down. Or your fitness, you're walking, even if you're a marathon runners, they start off their marathon training and they're burning, 3,500 calories a workout. 5 months later, they're burning 2,500 calories a workout.
Wow.
So as you're doing the same workout over and over again, it depends on the person, but after every few months, at least by 5 or 6 months, you're now burning less calories doing the exact same workout 5 or 6 months later than you were when you first started that workout. And that's why when you look at my workouts, there's a different workout every day. We do 5 different workouts a week. We don't do the same one.
That's right. Change it up. Well, Jill, it's been a great having you on. You are the bomb at JB. JB, you are the best. And we appreciate you coming on. Definitely going to have you back because January is coming and all those New Year's resolutions, which I have none. I just do it every day. I never said any, but thank you so much for coming on. Mike, you got anything before we get out the shout out?
The 20th century Jane Fonda, everyone. Jill Brown. There we go.
Thank you guys. I hope I look as good as her at her age. Give me 15 years, we'll see.
Oh, you're fine. And with that being said, as we always say, keep it
Rolling.
Bye, guys.
And by my good friend Charlie Smith, Mind Art Visual. Check him out, he does incredible videos. And these are like...
Right,